Hello and welcome to the They Don't Tell You podcast, where I tell you the things that they don't. I'm your host, Crystal Deborah. Now, in this episode, we'll be talking about worry. I'm talking about those annoying gremlins in your mind that tell you can't do something. It just frustrates me because I see brilliant people sabotage themselves just because they worry about the future. And I think it's time that we speak about it because we need to set people free from this life-destroying thing that we call worry. And I'm so passionate about it because it's certainly held me back, and I'm sure that it's something that you can relate to in your own way. So let's start by talking about what worry actually is. I'm looking at Webster's dictionary right now, and worry is defined like this. It's very interesting. Just have a listen. So it says here, the definition of worry. Number 1, choke or strangle. Interesting. The second part of the definition, to harass by tearing, biting or snapping, especially at the throat. To afflict with mental distress or agitation. To make anxious. Wow. Worry is no joke, it's serious. So pretty much what they're saying here in Webster's dictionary is that it attacks constantly and causes mental distress. So worry is something that's actually very serious, and I don't think we always realise exactly what it can do to us. So, in my personal life, worry has just been awful. So when I was a student, I used to worry about not doing well. So I would study all the time, really intensely, and then I wouldn't eat. And as a result of that, I ended up with a stomach ulcer and lost a lot of weight. It was very painful, not good. Later on, I remember I was in a work situation where I felt I had no control over my career, and it worried me so much that I would wake up at night, I would get concerned, I couldn't focus, and I just couldn't really cope with that. And again, worry was the cause of that. And even more recently, final example, was when I knew what I wanted to do with my life and I was chasing after it and things just weren't happening in the way I expected. And it sent me into a depression. And again, I was that way because I was worried about not being able to achieve. And that had adverse effects as well. I gained a lot of weight. I was sad. I cried all the time. It was not good for me. And I say all this to say this point here. Worry is unnecessary. You don't need it. It does not help you in any way. And the effects of it can be awful, as I've just explained to you. Now, the question is, how do we deal with worry? How do we deal with it? Well, this is the way that I've learned to combat it. Worry is something that creative people do. Hear me on this. Because think about it. You're thinking of the worst case scenario of what could potentially happen to you. And you create such a vivid picture in your mind that you actually start to believe it and think it's going to happen to you. So what I've done is I've flipped it on its head. So instead of me thinking, oh, I'm going to end up suffering, I'm going to be broke, no one's going to care about me, I'm going to be the laughing stock, whatever, I think to myself, well, no, actually, I'm going to learn from this situation. Something great's going to happen. I'm going to meet lots of incredible new people. I'm going to make something of this situation. Hey, I can even help people with it. And that's how I do it. Because the truth is, none of us actually know the future. None of us. So rather than thinking about the worst thing that can happen, why not live in bliss and think of the best thing that can happen? Because there's this saying that I often hear, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. Meaning that what you think in your mind really does affect you. You become what you think. So why not just think of the best case scenario and run towards that rather than thinking about the worry? The worry wastes your time. It takes a lot of your energy. And I'm just thinking, had I have thought more positively earlier on in life, where would I be right now? Think about that. Just think about that. There's a saying that goes like this. Worry is like a rocking chair. Lots of movement, but you go nowhere. That's so true. We worry unnecessarily and it doesn't help us. So really, my question to you today is, are you going to stop worrying? Listen to all the things that I've spoken about with you today. Worry is nothing but being creative in a negative way. So flip it on its head and think of the best case scenario. And secondly, remember that it just doesn't help you. Lots of movement, lots of thought, but you get absolutely nowhere. I challenge you today to show worry the door. And on that note, I'll end this podcast. If you liked this episode of They Don't Tell You, please subscribe, share, and join our online community. I'm your host, Crystal Deborah, and I'll catch you on the next episode of They Don't Tell You.